April 2nd, 1978. 12-year-old Darren Bickford was making his way home on Bell Island, a small community in Newfoundland on the east coast of Canada.
I was outside riding my pedal bike, and I knew one of my favorite shows came on television at 11, so I was pedaling back home. As I approached the end of our driveway, all the birds stopped chirping, all the dogs stopped barking. It just went so still. The ground shook underneath me. It was the biggest noise I have ever heard in my life.
Suddenly, something unbelievable appears right in front of Darren, a glowing ball of light.
It was hovering off the ground when it appeared out of thin air, and the beautiful colors of blue made up most of the center of the ball, and outside of the blue, it was orange and yellow mixing together, and then just like that, the ball of light just disappeared into thin air. This is, without a doubt, the strangest, most terrifying thing I've ever seen. But I was terrified, but I was transfixed by it. It was so beautiful looking, this ball of light, and the colors and the way it swirled around. You couldn't help but stare at it, even though I was scared. I was shaken, but I loved it, and I've never seen anything like it. And I guess I will probably never see nothing like it again in my life. It was all over in 4 or 5 seconds. But those 4 or 5 seconds are burnt into my brain just like a roll of film.
The massive explosion was heard over 60 kilometers away. Its impact wreaked havoc. People reported exploding TV sets, blue flames shooting from electrical outlets, and a strange beam of light coming from the sky. This bizarre event was dubbed the Bell Island Boom.
After this happened, everyone was in bewilderment.
One house seemed to catch the brunt of the boom. It belonged to Darren's grandfather, James Bickford.
Fuses in his fuse panel were glass fuses that were screwed into the panel. These had come out like bullets and went about 20-odd feet the length of their hallway and buried themselves in the wall.
Grandpa's chicken coop is demolished. The chickens inside, killed instantly.
It really looked like the bomb had gone off in his shed.
It's a bizarre scene. But even more baffling are 3 large holes blown into the ground.
There was a cone-shaped hole going 3 or 4 feet down. We didn't know what it was.
This weird and mysterious incident soon generates massive interest around the world.
A lot of people came, the media came. The television news crew had me describe to them what I had seen.
Myself, I thought it was something happened to the world, or someone dropping bombs or something.
Now, this is really weird, or what? Little kid is riding his bike, minding his own business, when boom, this town was suddenly smashed by some mysterious explosion, turning fuses into lethal weapons, exploding TV. And what about those poor chickens? Awful. What could have caused something like that? Was that me?
Jim Farrell was a local fire investigator and one of the first to the scene. After being asked to investigate, he sends his report to the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. The RCMP officially concludes that it was lightning.
I've never encountered anything so great as this force.
But Jim isn't the only one who wants answers. Soon, Darren gets a surprise visit.
There were these strange men. I was told they were scientists from Los Alamos, New Mexico.
The Los Alamos National Laboratory built and tested the first atomic bombs. Could there be a connection? The men interview everyone involved, including Darren and Jim.
I told them everything I knew, and next thing, I was more or less ordered to turn over my exhibits to the gentleman.
33 years later, and I would still like to know to this day, what was the ball of light that I saw? If it was lightning, how did it remain stationary and motionless in the air? How did it appear out of thin air and then disappear into thin air. Those things aren't supposed to happen. But they do happen. I saw it happen.
The three strangers leave without giving any concrete answers. What were they looking for? What did Darren Bickford and the residents of Bell Island witness? And what could have created the Bell Island boom? Science journalist Brian Dunning believes the answer isn't so earth-shattering after all.
There's actually about 600 booms between starting in late 1977 going through mid-1978. Nobody could really localize exactly what was happening, but it was heard from South Carolina all the way up through Canada.
Could the Bell Island boom be part of a bigger phenomenon? What could be responsible for this rash of strange booms?
As so often happens when you have a mystery, all kinds of people started coming up with crazy explanations for what these might be. And the most common one was people thought it was some kind of a military test of a new super weapon. Something like maybe that Nikola Tesla might have envisioned. Tesla, when he was in his later years and was getting kind of crazy, he was coming up with all kinds of proposals for ideas. He never built them or anything, but one of his ideas was a giant atmospheric superweapon that would move a large chunk of the atmosphere over a city and destroy it. And some people were saying that this might be a test, an actual test. Maybe someone actually built this weapon and we're trying it out. We don't know any super weapons that are consistent with what happened at Bell Island. It's purely conjecture. It's purely just a hypothesis that you make up. There's no evidence supporting that. Maybe it is the explanation, but we don't have any reason to think so. What started happening in December of 1977 is that the Concorde was flying over. It was making its supersonic flights between New York and Europe, and that created sonic booms coming over the land.
When planes fly through the air, they make waves, just like a boat in the water. The faster you fly, the closer the waves build up at the tip of the airplane. And when a plane actually goes faster than the sound waves can move, they pile up into one big sonic shock wave that can cause damage to the areas on land below. Could the Bell Island boom just have been the effect of a sonic boom in the world's first supersonic passenger jet?
Because it was a sonic aircraft and made a big sonic boom, it was supposed to go way out to sea. However, on hot days, because of fuel expansion issues, it would have to take a shortcut route and it would go over Nova Scotia. For all the 600 mystery booms that we heard, most of them were correlated with sonic booms from the Concorde and other aircraft.
Could the world's fastest passenger jet have caused the tumult on Bell Island? A small Newfoundland community is thrown into chaos by an earth-shattering boom. Was it caused by a supersonic airliner? Carl Syfy is a professor of engineering. His theory is very electric.
What I've read of the Bell Island boom sounds consistent with a super lightning bolt.
Super lightning bolts are extremely rare, but freakishly powerful bolts of lightning.
Most lightning has a negative charge. However, about 10% or less of lightning bolts are positively charged. Positive lightning also tends to travel farther. It can go several miles from cloud to cloud, for example. So the eyewitness reports of the Bell Island boom that said the sound was heard for many miles around, that's consistent with a long positive lightning bolt that, was going through several clouds in several miles distant.
Superbolts almost always occur in the upper atmosphere over oceans. Very rarely do they hit land. But do they explain the weird things seen that day on Bell Island? Like glass fuses acting like bullets.
Strange things happen when very large currents flow through wires that aren't designed to carry them. Tremendous forces are set up, magnetic forces that can cause ordinary objects to fly like projectiles.
Okay, well, what about the poor chickens that were roasted in their coop?
Chickens are susceptible of being electrocuted. What can happen with any kind of animal that are in a place where lightning hits the ground is the current running along the ground can actually run up through the legs and through the body and kill the animal.
Stefan's superbolt theory seems to help answer some of the mysterious incidents on Bell Island. But does it explain the weird glowing ball of light witnessed by Darren Bickford? Syfy believes the answer lies in an incredibly rare natural phenomenon.
The ball of light hovering sounds a whole lot like ball lightning. Ball lightning is sometimes seen to form right after a lightning strike. We suspect that it is an electrical phenomenon. It may be something that science doesn't know about yet.
Did lightning make fuses explode and act like bullets? Did it roast those chickens? Questions persist. If scientists don't even know what ball lightning is, how can they think that that's what Darren saw? If it was a superbolt, why did high-level personnel from a top-secret lab show up to investigate? And finally, what caused the 3 craters at James Bickford's place? Lee Tizard is an electromagnetic weapons researcher. He thinks Mother Nature shouldn't take the rap for this one.
I believe the evidence indicates that it was caused by something man-made and not something by nature. It was an accident.
But what could cause an accident on this scale? What kind of accident blows holes in islands?
During that time frame, the Russians were pounding North America with a very powerful and disruptive signal called the woodpecker signal.
The woodpecker signal was a radio signal used by the Soviets in the 1970s to provide early warning of an enemy weapons launch. By bouncing radio waves off the Earth's upper atmosphere, the ionosphere, they could analyze the returning waves for disruptions indicating a missile attack.
It was so disruptive that the UN and a number of countries banded together at the UN and protested to the Soviet Union when they found out that it was originating from Gomel in the Soviet Union, and they protested and demanded it be stopped, but it really didn't stop for a long time. I think it stopped in like the mid-'80s, but it went on for at least 10 years, the mid-'70s to the mid-'80s.
According to Tizard, the woodpecker signal was a ticking time bomb. He believes its use accidentally created a column of electromagnetic energy known as a standing columnar wave over North America. Despite being invisible to the eye, this huge energy field had the potential to be disastrous.
I believe that the standing columnar wave that was established collapsed. And when the standing columnar wave collapses, it creates these vortices of electromagnetic energy that have to dissipate. It sent down 3 spinning vortices of electromagnetic energy, and that's what we believe struck, explaining the 3 holes. It's believed that the standing columnar wave that was created by the woodpecker signal was attracted to Bell Island because of the iron ore content. It was a former iron ore mine.
Did the iron-rich Bell Island act as a giant magnet for a massive burst of electromagnetic energy caused by the Soviets? Or was it struck by a superbolt with a side dish of ball lightning? Whatever the truth, Darren Bickford and the other survivors of the Bell Island boom may never know. Weird. Or what?